This essay is titled, I Love You Make Me Sick. I love you so much it makes me sick. There are some people I look at, and these words and this feeling, they're poured into my brain like hot soup. I lit the stove, I chose the broth, I added the basil leaves. And although this applies to those I consider my loved ones, my friends, family, the ones I share a special bond with, I'm talking more about the people who sit in my filing cabinet in a manila folder titled Almost. Someone is walking down the street. A woman catches my eye as I'm driving. An infant stares at me endlessly during my serving shift, finally smiling after I bring the check. I love these people so much it brings me physical pain. I often think about where the pain comes from, or rather what causes it. Is it that I see this person as a perfect blank slate? That I don't know how they smell when they're sweaty, or what old trodden jokes they repeat to new people, or how they get angry more frequently than I had originally thought they'd get, which was a hopeful, cloud-like, evaporating thought, by the way. But I've tested the hypothesis, and it's been proven wrong. The more I know someone, the more my heart and entire body beats about them, for them. The more I think about them and smile, and I promise it's not romantic, or maybe just not fully romantic. It is partially, probably. I just view it as love. And isn't the difference between platonic love and romantic love just that you've made the decision to differentiate? I'm most focused on love, and I actually prefer when I can't define it. It makes me not want to define love ever again, because the happiest moments of my life were where love didn't have to be defined. It could just exist without thinking myself into limiting it. And I think this is where the pain comes from, because I love my coworkers. I have so much deep, deep love for them. I do. I journal about a joke they said to me. I see them on social media and I light up. And the same with my family, my friends, the cashier at the corner store that I frequent. But what about the guy whose application was never read by management? Or what about the girl who was about to walk in to get an application but went across the street? Instead, how do I look at her and not think of the context? That if one decision was different, we could have been laughing as we closed the restaurant last night. How can I not look at this woman at the post office as someone who could have married my uncle, and therefore be someone I love unconditionally, who I'm allowed by society to love unconditionally, someone who I have real memories with? Yeah, the real memories that have actually happened, and not the fictitious kind I always seem to create when two people laugh at an airport bar and I catch all of it. The rattling of my suitcase, the only reason I'm not fully experiencing the moment in slow motion. If this woman at the post office was my aunt, I'd hug her for longer than normal, tighter than normal, and I long for that. But justification is a tall, nasty mountain that sometimes appears in the form of a brick wall. If it was only strangers, then I could maybe put up with it. But this fever, this headache, this nausea and turning of my stomach seems to intensify in correlation with two factors. How close I'd like to be to a person, also defined by how close I feel we could be. If we just accepted and embraced the fucking truth, which I guess is just my truth now that I think about it, because I'm too scared to even ask for a peek at the other person's truth. Even if there was certainty that I'd forget afterwards and wouldn't have to experience the outcome of the truth, I'd still hesitate. Okay, that's one. And the other factor, the bullshit barriers that stand in the way of our connection, deepening. The latter comes in different forms, all of which I've analyzed, studied, and am now on a mission to expel from my existence. Which becomes complicated the moment I admit and accept that most of the time I am the bullshit barrier. By cursing the world and cursing human tendencies and norms, I accept them and invite them further and deeper into my perceived reality. Funny how all this information I hold true and try to hurdle, calling it a leap of faith and bravery each time, has rarely ever escaped the pursed lips of one of these souls I claim to love so deeply, including my own. For someone so obsessed with love, I sure do hug the walls of fear's cavern, as if some mechanism was physically attaching my body to them. But how else can I think? Well, it's my experience, or rather what the pages say of the storybook titled My Experience, which is authored, edited, published, consumed, applauded, debated, critiqued by someone with the same exact name as me. I long to be the friend, or even just the person who doesn't know he's being filmed. As someone behind the lens smiles and enjoys the beauty of my existence, I watch other people and feel that, do that. I love them so deeply that it satiates a creative desire in my bones simply to capture them as they are. Even if my eyes are the only lens, my memory the sole SD card that I have on me at the time. But it's never happened to me. Not that I've seen. Then again, how could I see someone in most of the settings that I see others? I don't ever think to look up at the adjacent house's bathroom window to see someone just like me, freshly showered, enjoying me as I try to time my turn onto the main road. What was I saying? Yes, those people I'd like to be closer to. We all have them. Please, God, tell me we all have them. They show up on our Instagram feeds more often than others, and we pretend not to know that it's because we've spent so many mornings and nights making eye contact with them, eye contact that only the one holding the iPhone with 36 unread text messages experiences. They'll never know. One-sided eye contact, how pathetic. When I think of them, this seasick love takes root, as if I was out on a ship that I was captaining, looking at the shore that I'd give anything to travel to and explore, then turning a different direction because it might not have a dock. But every time I've interacted with this person, I feel like I've seen the dock. It looks a lot like a dock. Can others see my dock? Do I light it up enough? I bought that flag to hang up on the end of it, but it's been lying in that plastic wrapping for so long, untouched, unused. And I get it. I know better than anybody. A dock is hard to see through the fog, especially when you have the remote to its machine. Just as I've spent most of my life, I'll continue to resent these societal behavioral shackles that I feel pulling me back, exerting all of my strength to break free of them, my eyes closed as a sign of my grandiose effort, but also a conscious choice to hide from myself the fact that the keys for these chains hangs around my neck. But grabbing that key, unlocking and freeing my hands, that would mean a complete commitment to the truth. And I am afraid of what others will say. And others are afraid of what others will say, and others are afraid of what I might say, and I will try to overcome it every single time. To look at someone and call them beautiful, to tell them how their presence makes me feel like I've been reborn, even though I'm terribly afraid of what could come next. How I could be seen by others, the ulterior motive that that person could believe me to have, what my words could mean to someone without context, but I am learning not to care. It's not my business, is it? Because in those few proud moments in which I've said the scary truth that my heart is bleeding, my worst fears freeze and shatter. And this whole time, I thought I was looking at a painting of myself, a caricature of me, both a clown and some wild animal. But now that my red nose has fallen off and a layer of shed skin decays at my feet, I realize it's been a mirror all along. My whole life I've been asked how it feels for everyone to like me. Even saying that aloud, I feel embarrassed. I felt so much shame for that in my life. I felt like something was wrong with me, and I still feel that today. And every time I feel intense love for someone, particularly those in the almost category of my brain and in my filing cabinet, that shame rubs my shoulders the same way you feel the discomfort of a relative rubbing your shoulders at a family party when you haven't had enough sleep and you'd like to tell them to stop, but being polite, you sit still, allowing it, trying to breathe deeply and enduring it. And it feels frustrating and puzzling and maybe even meaningless when you hear people tell you that everyone loves you, when all you see and feel is that no one will look you in the eyes and tell you their truth. And the almost folder overflows because you're no better, or no truer, I should say. Honestly, I think it's time to declutter that filing cabinet, to empty it. Because I have a funny feeling the other half of its hourglass shape is my soul, and I can't die having not flipped, having not let the grains of sand migrate. at least once. There will always be a reason not to clean that cabinet, but it stares daggers into me every time I'm in my office. That, and because my esophagus burns from the acid reflux of loving someone and almost letting them know. And if there's one thing I won't do, it is choke to death.